You're listening to Pointing Pointers, the Point to Point podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Pointing Pointers. We're joined not only by Sam Davies-Thomas tonight, we have got the GOAT of the weighing room, Will Biddick on. Will, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, Ben.
Sam's shaking his head.
It's going to be the most painful 45 minutes of my life, I can tell you that.
No, listen, mate. Credit where it's due. Sam said to me yesterday that when he was in the weighing room, you were his idol. So he's playing it cool now, but really...
No, I just wish I could ride like him. That was always just quite good.
That's
all you get from me.
You rode better than me. You just got fat.
Yeah, you rode better horses. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Well, we're off to a flyer, lads. I thought we were going to save the banter for a bit later, but we're straight into the mixer, so that's good. So we've got plenty to talk about in this episode. We're going to talk about racing that's been. We're going to get into quite a few discussion points today. We thought we'd make use of Will being on and his... obviously, Will, you're an elder statesman in the dressing room now, so we're at the weighing room, so we want to make use of your combined... me and Sam combined don't quite get to your age, so we just want to make sure we can extract all that.
Do you know what's actually annoying is they call me a veteran rider, yet I can't ride in novice veteran races.
Right, that is...
But I win awards now for being a veteran rider. So
actually?
Yeah, I do, yeah. So it's either, to do veteran novice riders, you've got to be 40, but yeah, I'm winning awards for, say winning, I'm in the place of awards for being over 35.
Wow.
You are quite old though, aren't you? You're nearly there.
How old are you, Will?
37.
Oh, crikey. So we're going to talk a bit about the races since the last pod, plenty of discussion points, and then discuss there's some big hunter chases coming up, as well as some interesting racing at the weekend, and about 700 maidens running at Badbury Rings, which we will cover in detail every single runner. But before we do, guys, not an easy subject to talk about. It's been covered extensively. But the hugely sad loss of Keegan Kirkby, I was reflecting on it today and just thinking it's really sad that often we only find out how much people are admired and respected when they're no longer with us. And but all the same, speaking to Keegan's mum yesterday, she was really blown away by what's happened since his sad passing, and it's been really clear that everyone in racing is right behind them in being very proud of their son. So, Will, you knew him well. What do you make of it all?
Well, I was at Larkhill on the day it happened, and I found out after I'd finished racing and walked back to the lorry park. We were celebrating what we'd had a successful day for the yard and me as a rider. So I was coming back waiting just for cheers and celebrations, and I was told then back at the lorry park, and it just made me go all weird and don't know, just a weird thing to try and get your head around. So it kind of puts everything else into perspective. Our day was great, but that I know there's a lot of people having to deal with what they had to witness on the day and to accept, and it was tough. And then driving home, I call Harriet, my wife, and just burst out into tears driving down the 303 on the phone. Couldn't get my words out. Just it really hit home then. And then I called my parents as well, and I actually pulled into a lay-by because it really choked me up. Pretty savage. It's one of those things. It's we as riders, we all know what we sign up for, and we were told the risks, but you never actually think you think you're just going to break your collarbone or do something like that if something goes wrong. But that's how serious the sport can be, and it's just going to be hard to accept, and it will definitely hit home the risks of it. But it's guys, get me again now talking about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, listen.
it's just tough, and I feel just so sorry for his mum and his granddad, and everyone's so close to him, and he was, everyone said it, and it's not there's no lies. It's just he's just one of those chaps that he'd never say a bad word about anyone, and no one had a bad word to say about him. He was living his best life. He worked for me for a bit before he went to pools, and he loved being around good horses. He was in a yard where he was well looked after and well respected, and a massive part of their team. And I only said to him at Hampton a few weeks before, in these words, sort of, "Fucking hell, kid, you should be getting your license taken out up in the East, because you're like the king of the East up here." It was just so nice that he'd formed a relationship with trainers and owners in that area, and he enjoyed going up there. He'd have 3, 4, 5 rides when he'd go up. He was a jockey, and he was he lived he had his weekday job with Paul, which he was riding some of the best horses in the country, and then at the weekend he'd go and live his life. And it was just, it's sad. It's very, very sad, and it's just things that young lads coming into the game just need to be aware that there's no shortcuts. There's big risks. So you can't. There's no chances taken, but the overwhelming support that Keegan's got following the accident is, it's incredible, and that just shows what a tight-knit community we are, and how much people care, whether it's a jockey, horse owner, trainer. We all look after each other, and we're all there for each other.
100%. Very, very eloquently put. I was speaking to a trainer at the weekend who can remain anonymous, and he was saying that they'd had a really bad day. Hadn't had a winner and all the rest of it, and the news comes in, and all of a sudden you just think none of this matters, And like you say, one of the best things about the point-to-point community is the way that everyone pulls together under all circumstances, including the worst. So, thanks for sharing that with us, Will. It's not easy. I know you knew him a lot better than most of us did, and clearly a remarkable young man, and it's incredibly sad. So, we will move on and talk about other things that have happened since the last podcast. Now, our friend Gordon from the forum, Sam, which we'll talk about later, very kindly was in touch with me before seeing Nominee ran at Wetherby, and told me she would win. Now, I spoke to John Dawson at Brocklesby on Saturday, and he was like, "How on earth was he so confident? How would Gordon know he's going to win when I was sat on her and didn't?" But to be fair to Gordon, he's at the top of the pops in this Hunter Chase tipping group on the forum, and it showed why. So it was a nice display, that.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was. She's been such a progressive mare, and every time you think, this is probably, well, I think anyway, personally, every time I think she's coming to the end of her winning streak, she just keeps delivering. To be honest, it was a good performance, soft ground. She beat Benny's King, who's a good yardstick by 15 lengths. Obviously, ran Regatta close at Taunton. Completely different circumstances there at Wetherby, with the ground and the trip, etc. But I thought she was really impressive, and all roads lead to Cheltenham. I think she's going straight there. It's another step up, isn't it? We were talking about this yesterday, Will. It's another step up, but let's see how she gets on. So, speaking of Regatta de Blanc, at Larkhill, in the Coronation Cup, Regatta de Blanc dead heated with Gracie Vuenke, and you could say Will Biddick dead heated with James King. More of which we'll talk about later, but that was a good race and a good finish, and an interesting outcome. It wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago, would it?
Well, it wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago because she was 4. What do you mean?
He's on about dead heating. That's what he's on about.
No, to be honest, it was a hell of an effort. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because there's good horses in it, but it surprised me that riding in the Taunton Hunter Chase and then riding in the Coronation Cup. The Coronation Cup was a harder race.
Why do you think that was?
Sorry?
Why do you think that was? As in the speeds you went, or
well, maybe no. I think we actually went a quicker gallop at Taunton. I'm sure we did, but whether Regatta wasn't the same horse at Larkhill as she was for Taunton, or maybe she's getting bored of Larkhill because that seems to be the only place I run her. But I don't know. It was a harder race. It wouldn't have surprised me if I turned in and I hadn't asked too many questions at Larkhill. So after having jumped the ditch and I'm on max, I was a little bit surprised at the time. So, but there was it was a pretty quick tempo. It's, I suppose Taunton was a shorter trip, but it was decent tempo. But she probably looked a bit beat jumping 2 out. And
is it possible that
none of me running down the last fence and a poppet coming at the last at Larkhill? Anyway, she had to come up.
Is there any chance that you were just outridden by a better jockey, or
no?
Worth a go.
I tell you what, though, well, she's a 6-year-old. She's achieved a lot from when she started. Obviously, she had her first run in January last year. She has achieved. She's come a long way in a short space of time.
A long way, Sam. And we haven't been pot hunting with her at all. We've entered her where we wanted to run, regardless of the opposition. And by going to Taunton, we did miss out a couple of steps in the ladder, but yeah, if they're good enough, they win. And if they're not, you find out a bit more. And she's always going to gain experience with every run. So, she's certainly not the finished article. She's going to improve. She improved dramatically. She's obviously a mare that needs a bit of time, because breaking her in as a 3-year-old, we thought, she's quite strong and we'll run her in the spring, but we didn't. We backed off her and ran her in the autumn. So, and there was a massive improvement then from her first season running twice, and then the summer out and coming in again this season. Like, she just grew, she matured, she was a different, like a lot better mare. So I'm hoping she can improve again after this season. But you can't knock her enthusiasm and effort, and she's not marish in any way. You say let's go about it, and she'll go about it.
Yeah, and Grace Virenki probably, was in the form of its life. Just won its last.
Yeah, and it's not like he's a 12-year-old or something.
No, 8-year-old. I mean,
yeah. Even Veriflay's not. Yeah, he's an 8-year-old as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
he's seven, but yeah, he's.
Yeah.
The horses.
They're not on they haven't been there and done it and on the way down. I think Grace Virenki obviously just lost his way a bit under rules, but he's clearly a talented horse. No one's got within sight of him in his first couple of runs at Larkhill this season. So, maybe I'm not doing her justice, Regatta de Blanc, but she's it was good for the sport that it'd be nice if there were more runners in the race, but it was it was a thrilling finish anyway.
Yeah, on paper it was a competitive race, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and it turned out to be that. Where does she go now?
We're going to go to Charlton Hawthorn. Is that a couple of weeks? First weekend of March, and then Newbury Hunter Chase later that month, and then we're going to go to the evening meeting, which she'll have a few entries in that night, but we don't know which race yet.
Yeah, cool.
Joe Hill or Alan Hill. We better get in trouble for that. A bit like the old earlier part of the season. Sam, when you got in trouble for calling Hannah Roach Joe O'Shea. But there's the Hills, shall we say?
It's a mistake to make that, though.
I still call all of Hannah's runners. Well, Joe's coming down this weekend, or Joe's got one entered. Sorry, Hannah, if you're listening, but
yeah. But he'll be on the phone to me now, Will, kicking off. But I will say this, right? I once had an involvement in a gin bar in the town in which I reside, and it was for years called Kind, and we renamed it the Curiosity Shop. And I would still get in a taxi and say,
Can you take me to Kind, please? And that was when we owned the thing. So yeah, sometimes just names stick and that's all there is to it. So let's talk about the double that the Hills trained at Charing, for God's sake, Sam.
Yeah, no, one of our favourites, Hawkhurst. Obviously, he went in.
He is a legend, isn't he?
Yeah, what a hero of a horse. Yeah, he just turns up, doesn't he? He's probably run 3 or 4 times already this season. He just keeps. Yeah, he's a bloody good old servant for me, isn't he? He's not been the easiest. He wasn't, obviously when he came pointing, he wasn't the easiest, but they've got the key to him now, and now he's a.
I rode him at Kimberwick, and then bolted up on him, and then I don't ride a lot for Alan, and then I rode him or Joe or Lorne. It's Alan, but he bolted up, and everything was great. Everyone loves a winner, and then I rode him at. Where is it? Forget the name of it. Up country. You do it's left-handed, but there's a right-angled right-hand turn before you jump a ditch.
Hutton Rugby.
That's it, isn't it?
Absolute knowledge, Sam.
Boom.
Back of the net. Hey, don't you forget that. That was good.
Jumped the last. It landed in front of the last, and he pulled himself up, and I finished about third. So
he third. You beat 2.5 lengths.
He mugged me off completely.
And what was the other horse that won at Charing, Sam?
Urban Grit. So yeah, horse that Joe mentioned for us to have a follow up and keep an eye on. He went and won the conditions race. Only just got up to beat Ripperoo. But no, it was good. It was a double for Izzy Marshall and a treble for Charlie Marshall. So yeah, the Marshalls basically cleared the decks, really.
We said before on this podcast, Sam, that we're a good luck charm, and having had Christy Furness on the pod, he kicked one in at Duncan Park.
He did, yeah. Cambodian one, yeah. So Biddick might be having a good weekend. We might have to load up this weekend, so we'll see. But yeah, Cambodian Christy Furness, enjoyed having him on. Actually, a different angle to look at, and Cambodian were 1-2 on, but absolutely bolted up 25 lengths. So well done, Christy. Yeah, good.
Good on him. And we were racing as well at Garthorpe. Fear Jaguin beat Carto de Bros.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Carito de Bros, a horse I've loved for a long time. He's a good horse. He's got massive cruising speed, but yeah, Brad set his stall out early, and it looked the right one was on the wall from a long way. He won by 10 lengths. It's a horse Brad's always thought a lot of. Obviously, Aintree didn't go to plan last year. I'd have thought that might be the plan this year, but he could do it, make an Aintree right-handed, I'd say, if he's going to have much chance.
Well, what are you doing with that? What you got? Is that a baby monitor or your phone? Oh,
he's trying to look up some results, isn't he?
You forgot we're on YouTube, mate. Everyone can see you looking at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely no preparation.
Could have had a shower as well.
Off the cuff.
No. I'm only joking. So speaking of Brad Gibbs, then I was at Brocklesby on Saturday, and we basically saw what constituted a racecourse gallop for Premier Magic. There was 2 of the horses on the track at the same time, but it was quite a strange thing to watch, really. Like, I'm not saying anything about it, positive or negative, but basically he won in 7 minutes 10 or something. He basically just cantered round and at his own speed, and actually the quicker he got, the better the horse jumped, and it was literally presumably to get a blow into the horse. He did what he needed to win, but they went no gallop at all, and it was basically like an exhibition, but that's fine. And I think it's probably the leading chance that the Brits have got in the Fox Hunters. That's not a particularly insightful statement, Sam. You only have to look at the betting to work that out. But we'll perhaps come to the Cheltenham Fox Hunters a bit later on. Also at Brocklesby, John Dawson won on That'll Do Moss, a horse that they own. And I caught up with him after the race. And if you can hear the audio, let's watch the video now. So I'm here with John Dawson and his son Walter. Welcome both to Pointing Pointers. John, you've had a nice win today on That'll Do Moss. Lovely mare.
Yeah, nice filly that we ran just before Christmas in a 4-year-old race at Chelsea Corbett. She was a little bit green that day and just evidently needed the experience, but given her a bit of time through a few points being off and various different things, so she's had a bit of time and she's come here today and won really nicely, jumped very efficiently, and she's gone away and done it well.
Yeah, I thought it was a very taking performance actually. And what's the plan going forward?
I think she'll head to the sales now. She's from a family that the Reevely family, who we rent the yard off, know very well. Mary had the mare and bred quite a few track runners off it out of her, and hopefully she'll go on and do something on the track, I think, hopefully.
Good. And look, pointing's a big family game, and we see a bit of Walter on Instagram and things. It's definitely a family affair. Your wife's here behind you, behind camera, and I assume that things are going well at home and you're getting your business off the ground.
Yeah, like we've more numbers this year than we ever have. Alice is a big part, does a lot of the day-to-day stuff. We have a good team at home, nice facilities, and it makes it worthwhile when you've got these two running around, and Peggy as well, coming pointing and cheering you on, and hopefully they might want to do it one day.
Well, you're definitely going the right way to inspire them by winning in front of them. So, John, pleasure to have you on. We always knew you were the better brother in the saddle, and keep going, mate. Well done. So, chaps, also at the weekend, we went up to Friars Hoff, and it's fair to say that Max Comley dominated the show again. So much so that when Nick Luck rang me earlier in the week to discuss what we were going to talk about on this week's episode, which we will give a plug to later, he mentioned Max and said, I'd be interesting to talk about where this chap's come from and where he's going. And I've dug into it a bit more. And don't mind giving Max a big plug here. I mean, he's hardly a well-kept secret, but Max started training 4 years ago, and he went from 4 horses. Let me just get my notes on this up from the other bit. He went from 4 horses to 11, and then 11 to 15, and then 15 to 30. And this season, he's got a 58% winning strike rate. Basically, more than half of his horses have won, and 83% of them are placed.
Thanks for just explaining that percentage. That was great.
Yeah. I just wanted to dumb it down a little bit for you, Sam. But fair play. That is quite a rapid escalation, and he's made no bones about the fact that he wants to train under rules, which is something that we can perhaps again discuss a bit later. But it'll be a sad day that he does leave the pointing ranks, because he's basically come from very little. He's done it all himself. He basically fell into training, and he's now got 30 in training and absolutely nailing it. And you don't mind giving big props to a chap that is just such a nice guy. Like he's a pleasure to deal with. I can imagine that being an owner in his yard is a good experience.
Yeah, and he's got a lovely place, just outside Moulson on the water. Lovely gallop, lovely big outdoor school, big massive open indoor barns, and yeah, it's a lovely place. So as he says, he's welcome to any visitors and anything like that. So if anyone wants to go up, just give him a ring. I'm sure he'll be happy. But yeah, 6 winners last season, and he's already on 14 this season. So frightening really how he's made a massive jump up. Fair play to him. You don't see him spending loads of money or anything like that, and he's obviously got these horses well and in the right place in the headspace, and they're going well. He's not afraid to run them either. You've got a horse in the box, he keeps running them.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah, he's obviously got he's got them fit, he's got them healthy, so strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, just keep running them. Yeah, they're going to
care how far he travels, does he? So
yeah, no, exactly. Don't mind where he goes, and they're winning, so keep running them, and they're going to get beat obviously, but
and actually, I hope he doesn't mind me spilling the beans on this one, but basically, he a really shrewd bit of placing, you could say, in running a horse in the Hunt members race, which he hopes will go and run in the Cheltenham Fox Hunters. And basically, he did very similar to what Brad did with Premier Magic. He jumped through all the right hoops, registered the horse with the Brocklesby, ran in the Hunt members race, and basically just had a school round, left-handed, and over some decent fences, and just gave him a very good prep for Cheltenham by entering. That's quite a shrewd move. And whether it's to be applauded or not, I'm not sure. It's something we'll talk about in a bit when we talk about whether this hunt race loophole should be closed. But in terms of playing the game that's in front of you, I think that's pretty shrewd. Did anything else happen at Friars Hof, Sam? I'm sure it did, but.
Jack Power, he won. I had a chat with him actually. He's up base with Lucinda Russell. He won the PPORA maiden race for Victor Thompson. So great character, Victor. I listened to him on the the Nick Luck podcast a couple of weeks ago after he broke his leg. Jack, that was his first win of the year. He's been away in New Zealand, as he tells me, and I had a chat with him earlier today, and this is what I had to say. Delighted now to be joined by Jack Power on Pointing Pointers. Jack won the PPORA maiden race at Friars Hof for Victor Thompson on Something Gold, on a horse that's obviously come on from his first start of the season where he was fifth. Can you let me know a bit about the horse?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. He's a nice handy size of a horse. He's run over hurdles a good bit on the track. I think he ran over fences once. And he probably needed that run there in Alnwick the last day. And he jumped and travelled lovely throughout the race, and we were always happy in a nice little position. And just coming down the hill, anyway, plenty of toe, and he got there in the end, and he ran a really, really nice race.
That's great, and I'll never forget Victor on Nick Luck's podcast. Give me a right chuckle, actually, to be honest. But no, Victor's a great character, and it must be great to have a good connection with Victor up there. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? Obviously, you're from across the sea, I can imagine, from the accent. How long have you been over here? It looks like you've been over here 3 seasons. You've been kicking in the winners a bit up north. A bit more about yourself and your plans for the season.
Yeah, old Victor, he's one of a kind. You wouldn't come across too many of him now, but he's a great lad. He'd leave you right Everton insider, and he's given me 5 winners now. From Waterford in Ireland, came over here about 3 years ago, and I think I rode 2 winners for Sherry Coward, and then Jack Teal really, really supported me in my first season. I think I had something crazy like 6 rides for him in my first season and 5 winners. And then I rode for Victor a bit, and I think I banged in about 7 winners that season, a few for him and a few for Alex Wilson. And this season is a small bit quieter. Went to New Zealand and came back in November. So yeah, it is going well. It's the first winner of the season, and hopefully they'll keep coming. Probably try and turn conditional at the end of the season based up in Lucinda Russell's. Everything seems to be going well. Everything seems to be falling in place. Kind of needed that winner now, to be honest.
Good man. Can't be attached to a better stable in the north anyway. You seem to be going great guns up there. Pointing wise, it's only a bit quiet. Have you got any rides coming up in the next couple of weeks we can look out for?
Yeah, great stable to be attached now and give everyone a chance. A horse that I did like was that Paramaribo. He'll run there in the next 2 or 3 weekends. He finished behind that JB Whiskey. Now, he did finish a good bit behind, but that was his first run of the season. I think he's a really, really nice horse. He jumped really well, and I don't think he'll improve from that run. I think he might be one that to pick up another race or 2 hopefully this season for me.
We move on to Higham as we conclude last week's racing. It was nice to see a favourite combination of mine in Heidi Brookshaw and for owner Mr. P.A. Clifton, known to his friends as Peter, winning with Pro Hajjank, ridden by Tommy O'Brien. Good on them. I hope you guys are all right down there. Hope to catch up with you at the picnic soon. Hope Zena's sausage rolls and sandwiches are on point, Sam. She sends her regards. I
tell you what, that's something you don't see pointers as much. Obviously, he's busy now. Tommy O'Brien. He's not riding as many pointers. He's obviously busy at Balti Brooks' yard, isn't he, running that? But he's not having as many rides as he normally does.
Well, no, he's got his own gig though. He's trying to make a name for himself too, and he's obviously happy and trying to
someplace down there. I was there the other day actually. It's a lovely place he's got there. And they got some nice horses, haven't they, to go under orders.
Yeah.
Good on him. And also at Higham, Lee Moulson, who we saw as a star of the PPORA Instagram, and he's trained his first winner. You know we love a first winner on this show, and so I caught up with Lee, and here's what he had to say. Lee Moulson, we watched a great video about you on the PPORA Instagram earlier in the year, and delighted to see that you've changed your first winner, Silver Sheen, ridden by Huw Edwards, who it's fair to say is on fire at the moment in the owner-trainer conditions at the weekend at Higham. So massive congratulations. Could you tell us a little bit about the horse and how it all came about? Hope you're well. Speak soon. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, we got him from John and Michelle Turner, who are some friends of mine, and he was in training with Fergal O'Brien. They were looking for a home for him, and I said that I was looking for a pointer, so they said, would I like him? Obviously, we looked at his form and we thought he'd be perfect for us, and that's how he came to be with us.
And Lee, some people will know you had a strong association with trainer Sue Busby, who was renowned for having a strong affinity with Higham and plenty of winners there. Has that got anything to do with the reason that you ran your horse there, or not?
Absolutely. I used to go over there quite a lot with Sue over the years, and it's fair to say she had an absolute cult following, with the likes of Beat to Bob, who was usually ridden by Hannah Watson, who is now Hannah Marn, married to the bloodstock agent Ryan Marn. He used to win there quite a lot. And Sue and I owned a horse that was given to me by Roger Brookhouse called I'm So Lucky. And I think the last time I was over there in about 2013, and Lucky went about 3 fences clear of everything else, and Tom Ellis was riding him that day, and I saw him again at the weekend, and I said, God, this brought back memories of being over with him. He was like, I've never been on a horse so fast as that horse in a race in my life. So yeah, it holds some great memories. They're a fantastic bunch over in Higham, very welcoming. It's a nice fair track, and the ground is always really nice, and it just so happened that they had one of these really good owner trainer races for people that train less than 2 horses, so it just gave us such a fantastic opportunity, and can't thank them enough, really.
Well done again. That's all fantastic to hear. What a great story, and wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season, Lee.
And obviously he was ridden by Huw Edwards, who's having a great season. Obviously a good connection with Hannah Roach. But yeah, he's had a good start to the season. He's a lad who's been riding a bit now. He's a well-liked lad in the weighing room. And I had a chat with him about the winning ride and some horses to look forward to in the next couple of weeks.
Now joined by Huw Edwards, who's having a cracking start to the season. Obviously a great relationship been formed with Hannah Roach this season, time leader, and plenty of other winners been ridden for her. But you rode a winner at Higham at the weekend for Lee Moulson on Silver Sheen. Tell me a bit about how you come to get the ride and a bit more about the horse.
Hi, yeah. Now had a brilliant start to the season, so hopefully we can keep going. Lee rang me up on the Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was, and asked me to ride him, and I wasn't anywhere else, so it was great. Silver Sheen, he'd been running well under rules, just without winning, still off quite a decent mark, so stepped down to point and you couldn't not fancy him, really, so that was great to pick up a good spare ride.
Good, and that's obviously from advertising your talents, probably hunter chasing more than ever. People get to see you when you're out on the TV, and no, that was great. Plans for this weekend? I see this time leader, is he going to go to the Walrus on Saturday?
This week at Leicester on Thursday for Hannah on a Scandinavian Peacock, so hopefully go well. And then not sure about Saturday. Looks like the ground will probably be against him, so he'll probably stay at home. And then Sunday, Askham Bryan College for Hannah again, and Creedon Road.
Perfect. And I suppose the end plan for time leader would be Aintree again, would it? What about yourself, Huw? Obviously, you've been riding a few years now. You're getting some nice rides. How did you get into the sport? Can you give us a bit of a background of where it all started?
Yes, that'll be the main aim for time leader this time. How he gets on, I'm not quite sure yet. My grandpa, he was a good national hunt jockey in his day in the 60s. So, and then once he retired, he set up the stud at home, and he used to do like Saucy Kit or Seymour Hicks and Scallywag. So got him from that, and then Dad carried it on for a bit, and then I don't think there was the money in it quite for a bit, so he sort of come out of it a bit, but he still always had the odd pointers and bits like that. So just riding out them, and I was spoiled with ponies, did quite a lot of hunting and show jumping and things like that. So just always been around them, I suppose.
Right, that is the racing out of the way, which isn't what everyone wants to hear on a point-to-point podcast, but we have got it out of the way, and we move on to some tasty discussion points, lads. So let's start with Buckfastleigh not being rearranged. Just go straight into the deep end there, Will. Your neck of the woods. Buckfastleigh hasn't been rearranged, and now there is no February fixtures in Devon and Cornwall. Do you know any more about this?
No, it's just unfortunate, isn't it, for the organisers, because Buckfastleigh is one of our go-to tracks down here. It's a fair course, and they've just had 2 meetings now that weather's taking control of it. It's pretty crap for them. It's a lot of effort going in, so it's a shame that we haven't got something similar. There's for us in the area, we've either got the Lark Hills or Badbury's, and then the lesser jumping courses like the Dunsmores and Wade Bridges. So Buckfastleigh is a middle ground. It's always a fair course. You'd run a 4-year-old and older horses, and it's one size fits all sort of racetrack. So it's a shame that's not been on.
Is this something that we should look at the beginning of the year as the fixture list, or why aren't there more courses, fixtures in this month for your area? Why is that? Is there a reason for it?
It'd be great if we could have some more Devon tracks going earlier in the season, just to even it out a bit. But I think it's easier to just say we should have them, but it's they're it's on farmland, so it's got to work in with the farmer, and whether it's arable or sheep or cattle or whatever, they need to be able to farm the land around it or on it. So it'd be nice if they could organise something to even it out a bit, so we don't have you have a nice horse that maybe not the best of jumpers or wouldn't jump around Lark Hill, but you want to run more of a galloping track than Dunsmore and Wade Bridge or Great Huw. So it'd be nice if we could even it out a bit, but it's all it's not a new thing that's been talked about. They've talked about it for years and it's it all comes down to the farmers, I guess. It's all well and good. Someone in an office, a man in a suit in an office, just saying we need it here and we're having that. It doesn't work like that. You've got to work with the farmers and the hunts.
I haven't got a suit on.
Have you applied for Peter's job yet, Sam?
No, I'm just under deliberation, mate, to be honest.
Do you want to send it to me to spell check tomorrow? Get it off.
You'd probably fit into his suit. He could probably give you a suit on the way out.
Yeah, actually, I like that suit. I've seen him wear a couple of suits. They're lovely, actually.
I saw Peter at Brocklesby, and he was on good form, actually. We did discuss your application, Sam, and he is waiting. Now,
I might have got lost in the post. Tell him I should have tracked it. Really, unfortunately, it's got lost. I should have paid a bit more. Got it tracked. What about obviously, but Buckfastleigh being off has obviously helped Babby Rings then this weekend, and it looks like a massive card, doesn't it?
Yeah, Badbury's always well attended, actually. The Countryside Alliance meeting, but it's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, but it's amazing for the organisers, the amount of entries they've got. I'm a bit confused about how they've divided the maiden, and if they just do a lotto lucky dip of who goes in what race, or if there was any thought into why the horses went into each race. Because personally, if they were thinking about it, they had enough 4 and 5-year-olds to put all into one division, and then the rest of them take the chance in the other 3 divisions. But that would have been better I feel it would have been better if they had 4 and 5-year-olds in one race and the rest all together. And it's a track that is got a very good 2.5 mile course in a really nice start. When you start at the start of the back straight, and they haven't got a 2.5 mile maiden there, which, that's controversy, but for a lot of people, but it's, they could have a 2.5 mile maiden, and they could have had that being the 4 and 5 year old. They could have made it up on the day. And if they even got hold of Tats or Goffs and said, look, we've had so many entries, we've got enough 4 and 5 year olds to make a race, will you sponsor our race for us today? I'm sure at a drop of a hand, they would have said, yeah, no problem.
Is this something we're going back to as in like thinking on the spot kind of thing? Something that needs to be done more of, I personally feel. But that's a good idea for what you said about putting the 4 and 5 year olds into one race.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and I do think it's important.
Go on.
But it's coming. I'd imagine there's some regulation that governs this, and it has to be split by by random. It'll probably the names probably get chucked into like a computer generated thing that pings them out because.
Yeah, but think out the sport. Think out the box, and think about the sport.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, Will. I'm just saying why it isn't happening.
Now, this is the debate started already. So you got people now with 6-year-olds plus carrying 12 stone that would have a chance against horses the same age, running against 4-year-olds carrying 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an open maiden. So
look, I totally agree. I actually agree with you. I'm just saying, I imagine the reason it's not happening is there's a piece of legislation which says it can't. I'd imagine the divisions if anyone listening to this knows the answer, then please feel free to search.
Well, I think that if that's the case, if there is a law against it or restrictions, there need to be. It should be down to the discretion of the organisers.
Yeah, it's a very rare occurrence, isn't it? That's the problem. It never happens. This sort of thing never.
Let's call it what it is. How many race meetings get 60 maidens entered?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a shock to the system, I imagine. And
yes,
you could ring round every 4 and 5 year old keeper and say, "Would you like to run all against your same age?" But what sort of work is that going to do for the secretary? Do you know what I mean?
I see there's been a bit.
I completely agree. That would have been a great idea, and it was the way forward. But why it hasn't happened is probably quite obvious to everyone, really. But that would have been the best way to do it. And then you're gonna, there's some people I've read on our favourite forum that think it's a bad thing having this many maidens at a meeting, which I just think everyone's out there and nothing ever comes good of it, and people just like to moan. I can't.
Why is it bad?
Because it's just diluting the sport to maidens that are just going on to 4 and 5 year olds is what I've read. Have a look. I haven't got the jumper fun form in front of me.
But you can guarantee now there will be a 4-year-old. If there's a 4-year-old winner at Badbury, it'll be he only won because he's carrying 10 stone 7 or whatever. But it's simple. Just put the 4 and 5 year olds in one race and put everyone else in another race. And then that horse that's a maiden for 3 years, 4 years, gets a fairer opportunity because it's carrying similar weight to what it's taking on. But when they've got 21 pound difference, I mean, they might be a better horse off level weights, but not when they've got the weight allowance of the 4-year-old's got a weight allowance.
So it's a bit of a wider point, this, but I realise that there's not enough people in the sport and there's not enough supporters of it to please everybody. But it's a bit the same with hunting. There's a generation that have gone before that remember, the good old days, which were, pre-ban, where things were done differently and the sport was different. And those people, quite often hark back to those days and the way that we do things now, and the way that it's kind of more rider centric and you're looking for jumping opportunities and following hounds, following a trail, etc. It is just a different sport, and there comes a point surely where point to pointing has changed or morphs from a previous generation to now. And, my sense would be that rather than constantly moaning about the changes that have happened, is accepting the sport for what it is in the here and now and enjoying the things that are good about it and taking those things forward. Do you think that's fair or not?
Yeah, I completely agree. But 56 maidens, that's the future of the sport. The maidens is where point to point to start out. Yes, some of these horses are going to go under rules. I can guarantee the majority won't, and they'll stay in point to point, and they'll progress into restricted conditions races and opens, hopefully. But for people to moan that having this many maidens entered at one meeting is not good for the sport, it is that or start their career, or they're coming back to get a bit of confidence to go on and win some races and stay in point to point. And I don't see one bad thing about it, to be honest.
So
surely you can't moan about how many are entered in a race. We're in declining numbers. How can you? We want to attract everything from at this stage of what the position the sport's in. All young horses, whether they're going to go, they're commercial horses or they're just going to stay pointing. We just encourage everything into the sport from the bottom from a young age, and any old horse that's been there and done it and wants to come back from National 1, encourage them in. Yeah. And if it means we have to redo the race planner or the race schedule and make races for all these horses, so be it. But bring in as many as we can.
Yeah, the last line on, I've just got the form. The last line on Mr. Ian Davis's post was, stop making this sport all about the elite and the buy-to-sell gravy train merchants and start protecting its grassroots properly while there is still grassroots to protect. Well, to me, they are the grassroots and they're going to be building up through point to point. So they've come to the sport. I think there's 6 new keepers this weekend, entered a horse. There's 345 entries all over the weekend. 301 individual horses have been entered. And there's only 15 4- and 5-year-olds in these maidens. So, that's my piece.
Yeah, good. Speaking of maidens and speaking of buy-to-sell gravy train merchants or whatever you just said, I think we do need to talk about a related point, which is horses that are coming from Ireland and sort of having placed form or worse or no form at all and then bolting up on debut. I put it to Ed Bailey that it wasn't a great look for us as a sport in the UK, and he came up with a pretty decent reply to that. If you want to go back and listen to that interview, but Will, what's your take on this? And do you think we should be doing something to stop those horses running against potential sales horses?
No.
Do you not think it's affecting the value of those sales horses?
I'm moving into this year for the first time instead of just riding a horse for someone to sell on or training a horse for someone to sell on or both. I've now purchased a couple in the summer and I'm going to own, ride and train with the idea to sell them on. And I want the name for being the guy with that says it how it is. There's no bullshit. If they're good enough, they win. And if they're not good enough, I don't want to be the one leading it up at the sale saying to a certain trainer, you need to buy this horse. This is the next best thing. The proof is in the pudding. We shouldn't be running away from any horses that's declared or any trainers. And, I don't want to take on that. We might get beat. Absolutely not. Just do your homework. If the horse is right and it runs, if it's good enough, it'll win. And if it does win, you can stand by it and you can be honest.
Mm. I mean, look, a maiden's a maiden, right? So, like, if it hasn't won in Ireland, it's still a maiden. And I don't want to get too caught up in that. I just, it's a bit of a source of embarrassment, isn't it, that they keep going in. Look at Grange Clare Diego for John Barlow at Brocklesby. Won really nicely, and I don't think he had completed in Ireland.
And didn't Chris have a horse the other day, Will, that you ran in Ireland?
Yeah, and Brad Gibbs made in the last weekend also hadn't.
Bradley's at Melbourne actually had that was quite good form in Ireland, or the races worked out its Irish form anyway. But Chris and Ed bought 3 out of a point to point that had all pulled up, and Wolf Walker's now won 2 from 2 at Larkhill. Summer Jam won by 8 lengths. Hands and Heels at Chipley Park, and then the one at Larkhill just gone one cozy as well. So either the Irish point to point was so good and they just weren't competitive, or they weren't right, or it didn't work out, or the ground was wrong, or
that was it.
That's what Ed had said, Will. He said that the ground was not right for Wolf Walker, and he's kind of spotted that and has made you know.
I know he was keen, and they couldn't hold him, and he went to the front and set a frantic gallop and then folded. But yeah, a lot of the Irish, they've had 3 or 4 schooling races before they run. It's not their first run.
So here we go. Let's get on to the schooling races again, Will. Let's have your opinion on this. Do you want to finish that?
I'd be doing it all the time. If we had access to do it, I'd 100% be doing it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you not? I mean, it's for the benefit of the horse.
I agree.
For the flagpoles.
So basically, I think the conclusion here, before we go down a complete rabbit hole, if I try and sum it up, Sam, you can just say whether you agree or not. I think we think it's a good idea, but it's not there in practice yet, as in there isn't the horse population doing it, and there isn't the amount of people doing it, and the kind of it hasn't worked out to a point yet in which it is a good thing. You know, basically, talking candidly to a few people involved at the last one at Garthorpe, felt that it probably wasn't a benefit to their horse because of what happened. Someone fell at the first, and then someone went off $1 million, and they basically raced in a couple of groups. So basically, I think that the concept.
But they didn't do that. That could have happened on a race day then.
No, exactly. What I'm saying is, I think we need more, and I think we need a lot more of them and a lot more people taking part of them before they become a useful thing. You know, we have one place doing a schooling race.
Yeah, one out of the whole country, yeah.
Yeah, and so inevitably you're going to get a massive variability. You're going to probably get a couple of rules trainers that use it. Then you're going to get someone who basically just wants to, you know, have a bit of a giggle.
Where's the one place?
Garthorpe. So I don't know if you know, Will, but there's quite a lot of the country above London. He's not happy. He is not happy. It's one thing I wanted to ask you about, actually. What do we need to do to get you up here racing a bit more?
Hasn't got time, mate. The fences are too big.
How did it work? I thought you meant just like schooling.
No, not schooling after racing. No, completely different. So on the same day as racing, so after racing, Garthorpe at the last meeting put on two schooling races after racing.
Yeah.
And then
good to know that you listen to the podcast religiously.
Yeah, thanks,
I knew they did that, but I thought you were talking in general about that's the only place that could school around.
No, we're just saying.
I'm on about these schooling races specifically, not just schooling around after racing. That is great as well. I completely agree, and it's obviously a lot cheaper, as I've already said before about being £75, but it did get a lot of support. But obviously, this is put on after racing, which safety factor of 14 per group. The horses can be either amateur or professionally trained, and jockeys must be ridden with jockeys who have a RQC, Cat A, Cat B conditional professional license.
So yeah, I mean, in essence,
my question is, why aren't more tracks doing it?
So if let's say that Badbury Rings did that after racing on Saturday or Sunday, Will?
No, there won't be enough daylight because there's about 15 races, mate.
That would be horrendous by then as well, wouldn't it? Plough field.
It'd be midnight by the time the last runner in the last maiden finishes. Oh dear. Okay. Well, I think we've covered that one.
No, we'll answer the question. Ask him that question and tell him not to be stupid. Would you have horses there, and do you think you could would not you yourself, but would you fill a field down your area?
100%.
Yeah. So the more schooling races we can get on, the better it's going to be for our sport.
Yeah. It's I would have horses going in. I know Chris would, and I know probably Kaylee Woolacott and Josh would. Les Jefford probably would. We have loads of with so many trainers in the southwest, national and pointing.
Yeah.
We've always been an area in the country for having lots of horses.
Maybe behind the scenes it is something that's going on that we don't know about, getting more meetings to have it, but especially in the right areas. If you get the right areas, I think it's definitely going to be good, and it's going to be help. It's more income for the sport as well, isn't it?
Well, I think they must have had 70 or 80 horses schooling around Chipley Park after on the Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. What's that? 20 to 30 pound a horse or something?
Yeah, and
£40 a horse.
Yeah.
It's maybe very similar, and that's the thing. I haven't ridden in any races, obviously, and I wouldn't have the experience here. But someone was saying to me, who's a jockey, was saying, "What is the difference between a schooling race and just schooling around with 8?" There isn't a great deal of difference. So what?
There's not, and it's you might be able to choose who you go with if you went on your own, the next morning. Do you know what I mean? You might.
I don't really see at this stage of where we're at, like the necessity to have a particular schooling race under like the restrictions that they did at Garthorpe.
Now we're getting somewhere. This is what we want. Come on.
I think, I took 11 horses to Chipley, and we went around in one group, and you can just be in control of it, and there's less restrictions. It's you just go a gallop to suit yourself. You haven't got someone else in there just being a twat and just fucking boring on and making it a stupid gallop that nobody gets over. You go a controlled tempo that suits yourself, and it's not, these races aren't about who wins and who loses. It's to give the horse confidence, give the horse experience, go to a race course, see white rails, walk around the paddock, walk out onto the course, do all of those things to then, when they do go to the races, they don't embarrass themselves. They don't, they're more educated. They've done,
safer.
Yeah, the trainers don't always have the access to show all the horses all those things. So it gives a chance for someone to go and do it.
I don't know whether they have school. Sorry, Will. I don't know whether they have actual schooling in Ireland or whether they just have schooling races. But as in, I don't know whether they're allowed school after or whether they just have these schooling races. But my sense would be that actually it's not being able to control the other horses and all the other elements and who's there that really gives you the ability to know where your horse is at. And they seem to have sorted the wheat from the chaff, and they know where they're at because they're not controlling the elements. They don't. You'll get rules trainers schooling against the point-to-point handlers and a few randoms, and you could be running against anything, one of Gordon's, one of Willie's, and you kind of get a yardstick of where your level of ability might be. And I think that's probably the difference, is that it's actually that element of being out of control of the variables that makes it more like a race environment. And maybe, from a safety point of view, or from for humans and horses, schooling is safer. But in terms of getting out of your comfort zone and finding out what you actually need to know about a commercial vehicle, as a horse as a commercial vehicle, I think that's probably the difference. Is that
you sound like you know what you're on about?
Oh, it's an opinion, Sam. But right, let's break this discussion up. And I saw on Instagram the other day that there was a this or that thing with Ruby Walsh, who I would consider, Sam, to be the greatest jockey of all time. Now, you told me earlier you thought Will was the greatest pointing jockey of all time, and so we're going to do a similar thing.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Will, can I just say, every week I get to tick a box to say this is not an explicit podcast, and this week it went out the window in the first 30 seconds. Right, so once you finish your crisp, we shall begin. I don't know how you do 10-7. It's an outrage. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Football or rugby?
Rugby.
Cheltenham or Aintree Fox Hunters?
Aintree.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Ketchup or mayo?
Mayo. Speed it up.
We did it at the end.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers. Come on.
Glass half empty or glass half full?
Half full.
Where did this one come from? Loud neighbours or nosy neighbours?
I don't know. Nosy. Loud. I don't know. That's stupid.
That's a stupid question. That's because Sam added it. Winning on a 4-year-old maiden or a proven form horse that's a machine?
Well, if it's a machine, I'll have the machine one, please.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
And there concludes our tour because we've run out of room on the sheet. So, yeah, I hope everyone feels that they've got to know you very well there, Will.
Well, what did you tell us earlier? Go on, tell us something we don't know about you. It was about a pasty.
Yeah, tell us something you've achieved. What's your greatest achievement, Will, outside of pointing?
Pasty. Yeah, I'm champion pasty maker with your garden fate.
It's fantastic. Can you just say it a bit louder? I don't think everyone got heard that. Can you just
juniors and adults?
Champion pasty maker.
Yeah,
that's
it's all about the crimping.
So they say. Will, who's the best jockey that you've ridden against?
Amateur.
Not you. Put your hand down.
In the UK.
Yeah. Do you want to narrow it down a bit further?
He'll never. What you want him to say? He'll never say what you want him to say.
Currently riding.
Currently riding.
What's that?
Currently riding. Yeah. No. You've narrowed this too far. Who's the best person you've ridden against in England?
Ashley Farron.
Ashley Farron.
Fair enough. And currently riding, who's the best?
I think John Dawson, Jack Andrews, and Dale Peters, in no particular order, are second to myself.
A big statement. And I'm actually really pleased you said John Dawson, because I'm quite shy about some of my opinions, which no one will believe. But I really rate John Dawson, and I told him so at the weekend. But in fact, we need to get some more security on these dressing rooms. I just bowled in, just looking for Paddy Barlow and John Dawson, and both of them were stood in their boxes, bless them. There's going to be some sort of inquiry, I'd say.
Don't start that.
Yeah, I know.
I find it a complete nonsense that now we have to, the valet will have to go in. He's got his separate area to do our saddles and get everything ready, in between male and female. It's an absolute fucking joke, because all the females go in the male one. Some males sometimes go in the female one, and yet he has to be in the middle because he can't be seen in the males.
Oh, but Will, like most things in life, unfortunately, the minority spoil it for the majority, don't they? If it stops something bad happening to one, then that's just the way that it'll have to be.
Who do you rate? Anyway, stop putting it on me. Who do you think is the?
Well, I've made no secret about the fact that I think James King's a very good jockey. Let's talk about the championship this year, shall we? I mean, he's been helped massively by Max Comley. I think it's fair to say, I don't think anyone can crib at that. You know, Max and James have had a great relationship, and that's going to push him close this year. Well, the question is, are you going to catch him?
I don't know. I'm riding on pickover in a way. I'm riding what I can, as many as I can in the area, and I've got a business to concentrate on. We've got some youngsters to run that need to do a job. We've got some older ones that need to do a job. We've ran in runners, 5 winners. We're in a new setup. I've got a wife and 2 boys, one that's only just been born. I've got a lot of things to concentrate on, and it is not those days of me driving around the country chasing for a winner are long gone. So I'm riding what I can in the area. I know I went to Hampton, but that was because Chris went to Hampton. But I've got to concentrate on. There's a few other things to concentrate on, but I'm certainly not slowing down, as in I'm picking and choosing. But
it's not your priority, is what you're saying. I think I've asked you an annoying question before, and it is an annoying question, but I have to ask it. And
but what is good though about having?
Don't say it. Yeah, off you go, Sam.
What is interesting though is you're never going to say that it's on your mind, but having competition like having Jack, Dale. Obviously, Dale doesn't ride as much as I think he should. You've got James there as well. Having competition obviously is going to help you want to improve and get better and keep your game high. Yeah.
No, in fact, yeah, I'm so far from content and don't feel like I'm nowhere near as good as I want to be. I'm so self-critical of how I ride. But I don't want to be the guy that rode for too long or fizzled out or lost his edge or wasn't, why did he go on another year or 2 years or 5 years? I don't want to be that guy. But at the moment, I'm not crocked. I fucking love it. I walk out thinking I'm better, stronger than anyone else I'm riding against. And as long as I believe that, I'm not crocked and I'm getting results, why do I need to stop?
Yeah, as long as you have fun along the way.
It's not all about fun.
Oh, right.
The question
I went wrong.
Can I just say, Sam, he did this last time he came on the podcast. He ended up presenting. He just sort of just took over, which was great. But the question, I've already asked you the question, Will, which was, and you said, when I asked you if you were going to win, you said, I don't even look until Easter. And do you still maintain that you'll see where you are at Easter and go from there?
I'm literally on tickover riding at the moment.
Does that mean you're just waiting to hit full speed, are you?
I'm race mode and in the game, but by Easter or a bit later, if I'm in contention,
you'll put your foot on the gas.
Yeah, I might go to 2,000 reps.
Is there any horses that you'd like to discuss that are in your arsenal at the minute that you...
I've got 3 I want to ask him about, if that's all right.
Oh, go on in.
You crack on.
I bet it's quite obvious one. The first one, to me, anyway, would be Macklin.
Yeah, he's a little pocket rocket, I think. But he ran 3 times in France and he won his 6 times and he won his 6th start. Then he had a leg. Then he came to me, and after a year off, we got him 3 weeks off run, and he did a check ligament.
Mm.
And then he had just over 2 years off, and we gave him a little. He wasn't fit enough, but we gave him a little gallop around because I was really worried about his leg now. So I thought, let's just get him to the track. So he wasn't 100% fit. We ran him at Chipley Park, did 2 miles, and pulled up, and he couldn't do any more. That was all he could do on the day. And then he improved a ton for that run. We won 3 out of 5 starts last year. But before he did his check ligament with us, I thought he was doing everything the same as, it's a bit ironic, but it's the same owner, but it's as Porlock Bay. He was doing everything the same. He was the same type of horse, small, pokey, with just so many similarities. And I had quite big ideas for him, and then it all went wrong. And then last year, I never felt he had quite the same scope to jump. He never quite, although he was good and he was a good pointer, but he never really came back to the horse that he was the year before. This summer, he's had 12 runs now to date. He's 8. He'd missed just over 2 years of his racing life anyway, but he's improved from the summer out. So we ran him at Milbourne. He loves bouncing off quick ground. It was good ground at Milbourne, and he gave me a good feel that day. We were going to run him at Buckfastleigh on Sunday, and we'd ran him on soft to heavy ground last year, and he jumped and travelled, so I wasn't worried about the ground, but it was off. So we'd like to go hunter chasing at some point this year, and I said to John, the owner, we'll have a look at Taunton on the 20th, or we go to Badbury Rings for the what they're calling the Wessex National, I think it is it? And it was, he left it to me, and I said, well, let's have a go at Taunton. So then Chris Barber called and said, I won't run Famous if it's too soft. well, I'm not keen to run him if it's too soft. So I asked John, the owner of Macklin, if I could put an entry in for the Walrus, because it's a bit of a punt in a way, but the horse feels so well and is in great order. And I know it's a point to point, but he jumped and travelled in soft, heavy ground last year. And
he did get beat though.
Yeah, it was an hour long. It was over an hour Stewards inquiry for Darren Edwards. I do hope you're listening, because we've been in the game a long time and you knew you were wrong that day. And if you were under rules, you'd have the kitchen sink thrown at you.
That's the kind of content we're here for, Will.
Challenged when hampered and switched last, no extra flat. I said you'd be in a mate. You'll never get that back, man. You never get that back.
I go inside, turning into 3 out. He shuts the door on me. Fair enough. So I come on his outside, and he shuts the door on me on my left.
At least you're over it anyway.
He definitely is a veteran, so it's all right. We'll let him off.
He's a year older than me.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, you look better for your age. He looks haggard.
I'm more weathered
Them Stewards inquiries. That's
definitely
why.
more weathered than Darren.
Them Stewards inquiries. He has an easy life, mate, doesn't he? That's why.
But it was in Devon. It was his local track.
Yeah.
So he had the upper hand, didn't he?
Yeah. Any other horses to discuss, Sam?
Wolf Walker.
Yeah, he was good. Where does he go next? I think the owners are keen to go to Larkhill. Chris isn't sure where to go. The idea was to hold him up because he was a runaway in Ireland, and then after the first fence, James made the run in and put the brakes on, and then I ended up going to plan B straight after the first fence. So he made it all, but he's obviously all right. It's not always easy to win a maiden restricted at Larkhill, so he's obviously got a bit of ability. I'll leave that to Chris. I don't get interfered. I don't interfere with that. So, but he's obviously all right.
Obviously, famous Claremont. If he doesn't go Saturday, if it's too soft, what's the plan with him? Obviously, he's 7-1 still for the Foxhunters at Cheltenham, but that's from what I know.
Might as well start now.
Yeah. So where would he go in between now and Aintree then? Do you know?
I think Chris is going to look at. I don't want to speak out of term for Chris or on behalf of him, but I think he's going to look at. There's a 2.5 at Leicester, 2.5 at Wincanton, a day apart. I think 27th, 28th, or 26th, 27th.
And talking of Premier Magic earlier, did you learn much from Larkhill at all?
He was fitter.
Yeah.
That his first run.
It does help in this game, Will. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a shit scenario, really. You've got the best horse in the race. All you got to do is jump round, and I'm on a horse that never makes a run in. So he jumped all right. To be fair, he headbutted the one after the winning line with a circuit to go, and last year Chris brought him to my father-in-law's, where the new yard we've got now, to run him over some show jumps in the school, and we've actually done that again today, in preparation for the weekend, and he was bang on today. Felt really good. So, but Chris is worried about the soft heavy ground or the heavy ground. So I think he won't go in a point to point next. He'll go in a Hunter Chase, but it will be Leicester and Wincanton probably be on the cards.
And this weekend, nice walk in the park, 4-year-old. Going to run or?
Yeah, the plan is to run. Yeah, we'll just have a little sharpener this week, and if bloods are all good, we will take a chance. It's in the 8th race, so
no drama at this end, I believe you call it.
Yeah, no drama this end. I'm walking apart. I bought him at the Land Rover sale, the Arkle sale. Shitting myself, spending money that I didn't have at the time. Sold a half share to him with a good supporter of mine, and he's strictly commercial. He's there to do a job, and he's done everything right. He's worked. He's done all the same things as Fresh Perspective that won at Milbourne. He's 16.3, good stamp of a horse, but it all comes down to we've done our homework. If he's good enough, he'll win. If not, he's no good.
Yeah, just make sure Darren.
I say he's no good, but he's not there for what I'm trying to have him there for. there's a place for him, but he does everything really nicely, and I like him. But it's all well and good being good at home. You've got to come up with the goods on the day.
Yeah, that's me.
Can't get fairer than that.
No,
that's good. Fantastic.
Sam, there's a note on here that you'd like to plug the Nick Luck Daily.
Well, I'm just trying to do. You're meant to be organising all this. Ben and I come in and the page is blank. So we've luckily secured a spot on Nick Luck Daily Weekly that we appeared on last week. Hope it's going to come out every Wednesday. That's going to be 20 episodes. A little spot on his podcast. Just kind of rounding up, pointing of what's happened over the last weekend. Basically, it's great to be able to get pointing out on a bigger scale, so to speak. We'll be there one day, Ben. But at the minute, we'll have to stick with Nick Luck and try and get his support, and it's something that he's keen to do, and we are keen to also do as well.
Yeah,
and you're like a fanboy of Will Biddick and a fanboy of Nick Luck, aren't you?
I'm just a fan of the sport, Sam. Just a fan of the sport, and I was joking before, but it is a massive privilege to be on that Nick Luck Daily podcast, and big thank you to Thoroughbid for making that possible. They've sponsored the section, and I think they've gone to good lengths to try and get the support of the point-to-point fraternity in buying and selling horses with them, and I love the platform. I think it's a great idea, and good on them for putting us up, Sam, on the Nick Luck Daily as the voice of pointing in the UK. Let's hope we do them justice. Now, let's just talk very quickly before we conclude about what's coming up in the next few weeks. So there's the War of Centre Chase on Saturday. We've kind of covered off that a bit. There's also the Dick Saunders Jumping for Fun Hunters Chase this Friday at Leicester. Now, everyone...
I actually got that wrong, but it's Thursday. I got the day wrong.
It is Thursday. I knew it was Thursday, and you've tripped me up there, Sam, with your ill preparation. But all the team will be hoping that racing does go ahead at Leicester. For all jokes aside, Haydock and Leicester are probably the two heaviest bits of heavy going in the country. So let's just hope that the weather turns for both of those occasions.
They've got to be struggling, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's on the top of a coin at the minute, Will. But both look to be really good races, so it'd be a huge shame if they don't run. And this weekend, the racing at Horseheath, Badbury Rings, which, as we've discussed, has a massive entry. Nightwick has sadly been abandoned, and is also racing at Askham Bryant. Any notable entries we need to discuss, Sam, or have we about covered it off?
I think we've about got to the end of our television. Probably, if people are still listening now, we've done very well, haven't we?
Yeah, that is.
Who's going to win the Walrus if they all run?
Quintin's Man.
Good shout.
Yeah, I'd go that. Yeah.
So I spoke
agreeing with you there.
I spoke to Dan Andrews about it in preparation, Sam, and what they've realised is they can go forward with the horse. So even though it's a bit of a shorter trip than you'd ideally want, they can, on stamina sapping ground, 2-4 might, or whatever it is, but will become more like 3, and they'll just go forward and make use of him.
If it is on, it'll be a war of attrition, won't it?
Yeah.
Is Darren saying they're thinking of the Fox Hunters with him? Go on, you can say.
I believe that he will go to Cheltenham. Yeah, I'm led to believe.
Will or not?
Is that public news, Ben?
No idea. I can't remember. I've had so many conversations this week. I can't remember what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not. But I don't think it'd be any surprise if we saw Quintin's Man go to Cheltenham with it. And I do think he's a very good horse. Clearly, the highest rated in the race by a long way. I think Darren's a great jockey, and I think he's got a good a chance as any at the weekend, and deserves to take his place in the Cheltenham Fox Hunters. What do you think will win on Saturday, Will?
I think Macklin, if I rode him.
Good. And Sam, what about you?
I would go Quintin's Man, because Will's been putting me off that Macklin likes to spring off good ground. Royal Infantry.
Oh yeah.
Horse from Station Yard that won the listed race at Newbury at the weekend. Obviously, he's won point to point now. He's won a normal bumper. He's won a listed bumper, and now he goes for the graded race at Aintree. Another nice.
Did he run at Buckfast Lee last year?
I can have a look for you, mate. He won at Edge Cup. I know he did get beat a couple of times.
At Did he?
He was third behind Diamond D. Alice Stevens rode him.
Yeah.
But
Chris, I won it. Chris's was second. Not Chris's, sorry. Tom and Jean. Jack was second.
Yeah, and that was third.
So what you're saying there, Sam, is there's good value to be had in the horses that come first, second and third in a British point-to-point. And I won't hear anything else about it.
Well, we need that. We want to have value for horses that get placed. The Irish do, and that's why we all need to take each other on and restrict the 4 and 5 year olds, or make more options for them to run against each other, so that then there's more confidence in buying at the sales, because you can, if there's a good one that beats you, you can get your money back for finishing second.
We're going to get something out of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Will, thanks so much for coming on. You've been very generous with your time. It's been good fun, as it was last time. You'll have to come back on at the end of the season when you've come second in the men's championship, and we wish you we wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Seriously, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and I think, Sam, that's about all we need to say for this week.
Yeah, it wasn't actually a painful 45 minutes with you fanboying Will. It was actually a painful hour and a half, you fanboying Will, but there we go. We've made it, and no, thanks, Will, for coming on.
No problem. It's good to be on.
We will catch you all again soon. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Pointing Pointers episode 8, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time. You're listening to Pointing Pointers, the Point to Point podcast.